So I got an article here from gamesindustry.biz. It's on archive. You can see why in the sub-headline. Broadening Saints Row's humor to expand its audience. Volition's Brian Trafficante and Rob Loftus on rebooting the open world crime series and why the default boss isn't yet another white guy. That's why it's on archive. Bullshit like that. I'll link it in the description box if you want to happen to read it, because this is extremely long. A lot longer than it should be, to be quite honest. But they talk about, the first paragraph is about, well, GTA 4 was more realistic and Saints Row was heading in a different direction. And they talk about some of the wackiness, the craziness, the fun stuff, in other words, of what made Saints Row Saints Row. I mean, not all just the purple phallic melee weapons, but, the dubstep gun, the fart ninja, that kind of, mainly the insurance money. I always got a kick out of the insurance fraud. When you're a ragdoll and everywhere, that's just fucking hilarious. But anyway, now I will say that this article is like a week old. I just found it, but that's why it mentions that it arrives on PC and consoles tomorrow. I'll also go through the Metacritic reviews real quick, but there will still be some over-the-top antics, jet bikes, and a rival gang wearing neon-lit cat helmets and blah blah blah. But the game is more akin to a Hollywood action movie with plenty of shootouts, car chases, and stunts as players build a new Saints gang in Santo Alesso, a fictional city based loosely on Las Vegas. Yeah, basically they talk about how that corporate didn't tell us that we had to change the humor. We wanted to do that for ourselves. It wasn't a choice where somebody on the publishing side or somebody on the business side said, you know what, societal tastes have changed. We need to change Saints Row. It was our own thinking that drove this. Drove it right into a cliff. Or off the cliff, I guess I should say. They even mention if recent reports are believed, even Rockstar has altered its approach to humor in games with the next Grand Theft Auto designed not to punch down with jokes aimed at marginalized groups. And all that kind of stuff. And the other guy stresses, Brian Trafficante stressed that Volition was never issued a checklist saying do not do. It was never avoid juvenile humor, avoid potty jokes, avoid sex. It was more like, what have people connected with? Why did they connect with that weapon or that joke, that story, that moment? And how do we get them to connect to what we're doing today? Talk about completely missing the point of what Saints Row is about. And I'm not talking about, it doesn't have to be like super wacky, over the top stuff with superpowers and stuff. I just mean, in general, it's like the vibe of Saints Row. Oh, how do you connect with a weapon or a joke or a story? It's like, who the fuck do you think you are, dude? It's the Saints Row. But whatever. And it goes on and on. He just, the bunch of other shit. There were two other factors behind the shift in Saints Row's attitude. One was Volition's need to recover from the disappointment of Agents of Mayhem. Well, guess what? It's not going too well. A 2017 spin-off that failed to wow critics or generate significant sales. Trafficante still refers to that project as a labor of love. Blah, blah, blah. And it goes on. Like I said, I'll link this in the description box if you want to happen to read it yourself. It's basically them just trying to justify, the new cast, which the new cast largely sucks. There's a couple people in there. I won't go into too much like spoiler action or whatever. I don't know if you want to even call it spoilers, but there's a couple characters I didn't mind too much. They were kind of, they had their moments, and other characters are just fucking horrible. But anyway, the new cast has enabled the studio to shake things up with one very prominent example. The default boss, the player's character, is a young black woman. While Saints Row has always had a diverse cast across the series and an extensive character creator, it's still rare for any AAA title to present players with anything other than yet another white bloke as the face of this game. And you could tell a self-hating white man wrote this shit. It's like, Jesus, dude, come on, man. But anyway, the whole point of Saints Row is you make your own character up. Like, what the fuck, man? Oh, she's the default. Who cares? I mean, whatever. Anyway, it goes on and on, blah, blah, that's kind of bullshit. Let's go to Metacritic for the Saints Row. Right now, on the Xbox One X, it's got a 67 on the Metascore. I'm going to pause this shit. Fuck out of here with that. User score is 3.1. That ain't good. The Metacritic, or the critic reviews, 35 reviews, 122 on the user score. What is it on PC? That's basically the same, to be honest. It's a 67 for the critics, 2.7 for the user. The PS4 and the Xbox One, even Stadia too, they don't have enough reviews, basically, although the user scores are roughly going to be around that same. PS5, the Metascore is actually a little lower for the critic reviews, 63, but they do have 57 reviews, so quite a bit more critic reviews. 3.0 on the user score, with quite a bit more user ratings. It's not looking good. It's looking pretty terrible. Let's close that shit. Or pause it, I should say. You get your usual, like I linked to in my other video, Gaming Nexus, Game Byte, all that kind of shit. And so, god damn, motherfuckers, get this shit out of here. And it goes on there, GamePro Germany 65, 60, just is going down and down. VGC 40 and everything. There's all 60 of them. It's one of those things where it's like, man, some of these people, you could tell that they like, like right here, a lack of polish in the gameplay department. So why did you give it a fucking 80 then? Because it's like, look, to me, I understand, it's a 0 to 100. So there should be a difference between an 80 and an 85. Nothing huge, by the way, but it's like a lack of polish in the gameplay department, and you give it an 80. What the fuck, But I mean, hey, your review, it's your business. That's fine, It's 80 here, 80. It goes on and on. Like I said, I mean, most of these places you've probably never heard of. That doesn't invalidate the review by any means. I don't want to make it sound like I'm saying that. It's just most of these places, I mean, look, but at the same time, I don't listen to a lot of the critics and stuff because most of these critics, it seems like they're paid shills, to be quite honest. Like, the Saints Row game, I stand by basically what I had said before, where if you're playing single player, 3 or 3.5, if you're playing co-op, you might go up to a 5. I'd probably go about 3.5 for single player because the fucking bugs, man. That's the stuff that really bothers me. Like, the characters are fucking lame as hell. But if you're playing co-op, you're not gonna notice that as much. Because I don't know about you, but whoever I used to play the Saints Row games with, so I played them all. But 2, 3, and 4, and then the Gad out of hell, you could play in co-op and stuff. Well, the guy I would play with, we'd be sitting there, just shooting the shit, talking, doing this, laughing at the idiocy and everything. But if you're playing single player, who are you gonna laugh at? Or laugh with, I should say. You'll laugh at the characters, but it's like, there's not like a big thing about wanting to make jokes during this shit because it's like, who telling the jokes to? Nobody, basically. Anyway, it goes on and on. As you can tell, that the numbers are getting lower. Some of these places, quotation forthcoming from PC games. Hey, that's a, VG247 to 60. It's like, honestly, a lot of this stuff is higher than me. I'm a believer in using the entire score. So on a scale of 0 to 100, to me, a 50 would be average. I know some people kind of use the whole ABCD scale, where like say a 70 or 75 is average. They use almost a 50 to 0. If the game is 50, that's like an F. I'm not a believer in that because I don't think that it's like why use the scale of 100 if you're doing that shit. But whatever, it's going on and on. And I can link this shit if you guys really want. I mean, if I remember, I will. But I mean, it's just critic reviews in progress and unscored. It's like Eurogamer. A lot of these places, they can't bring themselves to review it because it's not good. I mean, shit. It's like if you got like places giving a 95 and stuff, but the Metascore's down to a 63, mixed or average, basically. Which, as you can see, mixed 33 of the 57 are mixed. That's well over half. But anyway, it's just, again, I mean, I can't really give much of an update because I haven't really played a whole lot of it in the past few days since my last video because the fucking bugs. Man, I'm telling you, oh my god. I've run across T-poses. I've run across all kinds of just like constantly resetting animations and cutscenes and all this kind of stuff. It's not good. It's not good. And they talk about broadening the humor to appeal to more people, but it's like, number one, you didn't do that. But even if you did, the game is fucking buggy. Now, again, it might just be my experience. If you're playing the game or other people are playing the game, you might be having a better time with it. You might not be having the bugs I'm having. I mean, that's very possible. I'm not saying my experience is truly indicative of the game in its entirety. It's hard to say how far I am into the story because some of it's just the story's fucking so goddamn lame. The characters are so fucking stupid. You got characters, oh, let's overthrow capitalism and stuff, and you could tell that these guys, the people who wrote the story, you could tell that they've done just the barest amount of research into some of these socialist, communist type, people throughout history, because they're trying to glorify, hey, this and that. And I don't want to go into spoilers or too much detail, because I mean, honestly, I don't think anybody's playing Saints Row for the fucking story, but maybe. So I kind of want to stay spoiler free. And again, like review in progress, I guess you would want to call it for a 3.5 or a 5 for the co-op or whatever. It's just not looking good. If you're playing it and you're having fun with it, that's great. That's awesome. I truly hope that if you're one of the people who've bought the game or tried it and stuff, I truly hope you're having fun with it. I mean, honestly, seriously, like I'm not the type to be like, hey, I think the game sucks, so I hope it like bombs or whatever. I mean, I hope other people have enjoyment with it. I hope you don't have the problems I've had with it, the bugginess. I hope you like the characters. I hope you like the humor and stuff. To me, I didn't see the humor. I think it has more of the clapter type of humor, which I've heard people say is like the whole kind of activist humor, where you don't actually laugh, you kind of clap to show your approval. I see more of that kind of shit in the game. And maybe I'm just jaded though. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up here. I've already gone 12 minutes, which is quite a bit longer than I usually go. Uh, again, I hope you enjoy it. I have not. I would not recommend the game. But, regardless. Thank you very much for watching and have a good one.